Hi besties, welcome back. So today is exciting because I realized I really like filming these videos because they make me feel so accomplished. But today we are wrapping up the 10 books I read in August, and I actually did read 10 this month. Last month I kept on thinking that I read 10, but it was actually 9. So this month I read 10. 3 out of the 10 were audiobooks, and I think that's how I hit 10 because I read less physical books than last month. I'm pretty sure. Could be wrong, but it feels like that. August feels like I blinked and it's over. So a lot of the books, when I was looking back to try and find out like what ones to include in this video, I was like, I feel like that was last month, but it wasn't. So here we go. There are quite a few books. I'm gonna try and get through this fast, but a lot of these books actually aren't in reading vlogs. That's such a lie. Maybe 2. 3 out of the 10 aren't in reading. There's a lot going on in my brain. There are also audiobooks, and we're just gonna start and I'm gonna tell you about them. There we go. Again, these are in no particular order because I can't remember what order I read them in. But first is Chain of Thorns by Cassandra Clare, and this was finishing out the Last Hours series. I did do this in a reading vlog. I think it should be up already, and I'm not going to tell you what this is about because it is in a series, like the last book in a series. My thoughts, I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars. It was just really long, and I don't think I can do books this long. I think I need to spread them out over a specific amount of days. Like this took me 5 days, and that was me like blowing through it. I think it would have it for me to actually like it. I think I would have to slow down a bit. But the cool thing about this one is that it had pictures in it, and I haven't had pictures in my book in such a long time. It was just really cool. I wasn't expecting it. Like, that's just so fun. Like, what the heck? This book was, I think, over 600 pages. Yeah, this is already like 777. So it was quite a hefty guy, hence why I called it the Bible book. Nothing much to say about this because I did say my thoughts in the reading vlog. She's really long, really hefty, and it did read like a YA to me because some of the conflicts, I was like, this could be solved if you just talk to each other. Like the relationship issues, but it was good. It was very nostalgic, and I loved it because when I was in elementary school, I read the Mortal Instruments series, and that kind of just like, this taking me back into that world that I read in elementary school, and now I'm like graduated from university. I don't know, it was just really nice. So this was like kind of a nostalgic one to pick up, even though it was my first time reading it. Like the world was nostalgic, and I really enjoyed that. Beautiful World, Where Are You by Sally Rooney. I picked this up when I was with Catherine the first time we went to Indigo together this summer because it's just really pretty. Like, I love this cover. I think I gave this a 2 stars. Don't think I vibe with Sally Rooney's writing. I also read Conversations with Friends, and I did not like that book at all. This just follows two best friends from university. For the first half of the book, they aren't together. They're just like writing emails back and forth to each other, updating each other on like life and what's going on, and then it follows both of them, and then they both get into relationships, and it's kind of just like navigating your life in, I think they're either in late 20s, early 30s, like that age range. Could be wrong, just not my kind of writing. The last book in the Once Upon a Broken Heart series, A Curse for True Love, I had mixed feelings about this book, but I still gave it like a 4.5 stars out of 5. I didn't like it as much as I liked The Ballad of Never After. I'm not going to recap this either because it is the last book in a series, but it was good for what it was. I do love Stephanie Garber's writing. Like, just the way that she writes worlds and like the fairy tale aspect of it. No spoilers. But this book is from 3 point of views, and the last little epilogue bit isn't from anyone's point of view. It's from like a narrator's point of view, and I said like that kind of just adds to the whole like fairy tale aspect of it for me. Like, I wasn't expecting a narrator. I was expecting someone's point of view. So it was really nice. I do wish that one of the main characters in this book wasn't really in this book, if that makes sense. He just wasn't in this as much as like the other 2 books from the first 2 books of the series. He was barely in this, which was really disappointing because after the second book, I was like, oh, this is perfect. This is great. Like, I'm so excited to see where their story goes next, which it did wrap up, but like, why was he barely in it? Yesterday, I was watching Stephanie Garber's Instagram story, and she said she actually is working on a new book, not related to the Caravel series or world, which is like kind of exciting. I know that she comes out with another book. She comes out with that in October, and it's like a Caravel winter holiday themed novella, so I will be picking that up because it looks really good. I'm just happy I'm done the series. It did cause a lot of emotional pain and like mental turbulence in my brain. I'm glad I'm done though. I put it off for so long because I was so scared to finish it, but I'm so glad I finished it. Next up is The Lost Story by Meg Schaefer, and I read this, I would say like mid-August, beginning to mid-August. It was my first book of the month book. I'm so upset because I forgot to order my book of the month book for the month of August. This was for the month of July, and I wanted Wedding People, so I was like, it's fine. But this didn't hit as much as I thought it would. I haven't given it a rating yet. I would say between like a 3.5 and between a 3 and a 4. So like potentially 3.5. This was just very, it wasn't what I was expecting. So let me give you the recap of what it's about. It's about Rafe, Jeremy, and Emily. Rafe and Jeremy, first of all, I was saying his name Raph in my head for the longest time, and they actually said the pronunciation halfway through the book. So I was like, oh, I was saying his name wrong for half of the book. But Rafe and Jeremy, when they were young kids, they get lost in a forest for 6 months. So they've disappeared for 6 months. One day they just randomly show back up and everyone's like, what the heck happened? How are you guys alive? They were presumed dead. But Rafe doesn't remember what happened. Jeremy says he doesn't remember what happened. They just somehow survived in the forest. Years later, Jeremy, his career is finding missing people, specifically lost girls and women. Like, he won't look for a man or a boy. He'll specifically find lost girls and women. And then Emily comes to Jeremy and she's like, hey, I actually have a sister who disappeared. She was adopted, so she doesn't know who her sister is, but she's like, I would love if you like found her remains or just like found her. So then Jeremy agrees, and him, Rafe, and Emily go on this big adventure to try and find his sister. I got it because they said that it gave off like big Narnia vibes, because, no, that's a spoiler, I can't say that. just cause. They end up in a fairy tale land. There we go. The writing was a bit confusing to me because there is a narrator, like there is in fairy tales, but then like there are also very serious topics. Check trigger warnings for this book. Wasn't aware of that. It was like very serious topics for like a fairy tale, in my opinion. And then the narrator switching back and forth, like the narrator was fun. It seems like a fun fairy tale, but when you were in the story, like the narrator wasn't narrating anymore, it was just a story, it felt very mature. Like it felt like the narrator was, I don't know, like I don't know how to word it. It does wrap up very well at the end, which I loved. Like it was kind of like the narrator at the end of A Curse for True Love. I just love when like someone wraps it up very nice, and then like there's a nice little surprise at the end about the narrator, which I loved. But yeah, like the writing just didn't match up for me. And then I was also watching Haley's video and was reading some of the other comments in Goodreads, and they're like, there wasn't much going on when you were in the fairy tale land, which is what you want, like fairy tale, right? But when you're in the fairy tale land, it was more of them like reminiscing on memories and things that happened in the real world, not what was happening in like the fairy tale world, which I want more of, like what's happening in the fairy tale world, you know? Like, tell me about the fairies and I don't actually think there were fairies in this book, but tell me about like the creatures and the people and like the kingdom and the politics in this world. Like, don't tell me about the real world. We're just in the real world. Like, I want more like fairy tale. I was expecting more from this, which is a little unfortunate, but that's okay. I think I still would recommend this. Like, it was still a good book. It just confused me at times because the narrator voice and then the actual like voice narrating the story was just so different and off. Like, I don't know, it was off, didn't make sense in my brain, and that's probably just a me problem. Next up is the first audiobook I finished this month, and it is These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong, and I did really enjoy that. Okay, someone said that this was like a Romeo and Juliet retelling, and after reading that, I was like, oh, I was so dumb. Because I really did not pick up on that whatsoever. But the story follows Juliet and Roma, and they were in love when they were younger. But then Juliet got sent away because both of their families are from very prominent gangs in Shanghai. This takes place like years and years ago. I think in like the 19 somethings. I'm not sure. They said it, don't remember. If I find it, I'll pop it up here. They're part of like two prominent gang families, the rivals. They are rival gangs. And when they were younger, their parents found out, and then it was a big thing. So Juliet got sent away. She comes back to Shanghai, and all of a sudden there's like a madness. They called it a madness, or like a sickness that's spreading through the gangs. And it's basically these insects that are making people like mad and tear at their throats until like they're dead. They'll like tear out their throat innards. And that's what they called the madness. So then Juliet and Roma have to work together and try and find a cure, or not a solution, more of a cure to the madness. And I was super invested. I loved it. I know it did also get some mixed reviews just because it was like a Romeo and Juliet retelling, but I really liked it. So I want a physical copy of this book because there are so many quotes from Juliet talking about like her identity as an Asian woman, but when she got sent away to the US. So she was like, oh, I wasn't white enough to be part of like the US culture, but also now that I'm back in Asia, I'm not Asian enough. You know, like the mixed identities and stuff. So I really related to that. Like a lot of things she said, so insightful. It was just a lot of that, like identity and culture and stuff. It was so good. So I think when I read stories by Asian authors and things like that come through, I really relate to it. I just love it. I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars, I think. Maybe even a 4.5 stars. I can't remember. I know that it's a series, so I do want to read the next one. And is that all I have to say about that one? Guys, when I tell you that, again, I don't remember what I read this month. So even being able to like recap some of these books, I was like, wow, I'm impressed with myself because I do not have a great memory. We have another library book. Oh my gosh, I also need to return all these library books after I film this because I think they're all overdue, which is so bad. But it's okay because we rally. The next library book is One Italian Summer, and I started off loving this book. I loved it. I ate it up. It's also so short too. I honestly thought this was going to be a 5-star book when I read like I think I was on like page 20. I was like, this is gonna be a 5-star book. Also because one of the first pages is a quote from Lorelai Gilmore. She gets me. She understands. But the quote was, I'm just gonna read it to you. I feel like I need more time. I really just feel ambushed, you know? I mean, I thought I had much more time. I thought I had all summer to impart my wisdom and work and life on your future, and I just feel like I had something to tell you. Oh, the bus. Make sure you choose a good seat, you know, because people are creatures of habit, and the seat you pick in the beginning could be your seat for the rest of the year, you know? Get a window seat, honey, because there's so much to see, which is very applicable to the book. This gave me 7-year slip vibes. There we go. About Kathy, and her mom passes away before they go on like their big, basically Euro summer trip. And Kathy decides to go by herself, go to Italy. And when she's in Italy, she meets some girl who looks like her mom. And is that a spoiler if I say? Nope, it's not, because it's in like the little description. It's her mom, but a younger version of her mom, which is wild. So that's why it's kind of giving me like the 7-year slip vibes, like the magical realism. And she basically just spends Italy, or like her time in Italy with her mom and some other guy she met who also stayed at her hotel. I love that Rebecca used real places, because I was Googling like the hotel she was staying at, the restaurant she was going to, the hikes they were going on, all real places. So I was like, this is so fun. What the heck? Can we look at the cover? Can you tell my brain is like everywhere right now? Like there's just so much going on. The one thing that did get me in this book, I can't go into details just because that would be a spoiler, but like she was like cheating, but not really cheating on her husband. So like Kathy, main character. So I was like, that's the one thing I just can't do in books, is like just in general, just in life. Like I don't like reading about it. I don't like it. So when that happened, I was like, I just immediately got put off, like immediately. If that wasn't in here, this would have been a 5-star book for me, because I loved the magical realism of like her mom being there. I loved the setting, like where they were, how things were described. I loved how grief was described in this book, because I went through a similar situation. Oh my god, it would be like 2 years ago now, I think. Yeah, that's crazy. But when my grandma passed away, I had my European summer trip planned for the week after she passed. So that was really hard. So like Katie just going on this trip and like right after and like dealing with the grief and the aftermath of that in like a foreign place. It was just, I related to it a lot, and that's why I really loved it. And that's why I really struggled with what I was gonna rate it. I ended up giving it a 4 stars. I think if the cheating thing wasn't in there, it would have been a 5-star. The next book is an audiobook, which is Yellowface. And I had no plans on reading this. All of my audiobooks, the process I do it is through like the Libby app on like my library through the Libby app. So whatever they have available, I'm just like, that will be my next read. I don't really plan it out. I don't have many audiobooks on hold. So it's like book roulette. I just go through the list and see what they have available. And they had this one available. And I was like, I have heard so many great things about this book. I'm gonna listen to it. I did end up giving it a 3-star because I hated the main character, but I know that was the whole point. I know that was the whole point of the book, was to hate the main character, but she just irked me so much that I just... But this book is about June Hayward, and she is white, and her best friend is Athena, and Athena is Asian. I think she's Vietnamese. I can't remember, but this is not a spoiler because it's literally in the description of the book. One night, June and Athena are hanging out, and Athena chokes on a pancake and passes away. So June finds a manuscript, one of Athena's manuscripts, the like latest one, and she takes it, publishes the manuscript as her own work, and it does really well. It takes off, she becomes super famous, but it's not her work. And it's kind of just the aftermath of that and how she tries to find more success after that book and people who doubt her. It was really good. I just hated the main character, and I know you were supposed to, and I know that was the point, but like, oh my gosh. This will probably be in this month's vlog, but I did listen to majority of this book while I was baking a cake, a birthday cake. So I don't know, I just find that funny. Like, I think whenever I bake that kind of cake now, I'm gonna associate it with Yellowface, because I think I got through a solid like 40 to 50% of that book while I was baking. Yes, that was Yellowface. I'm glad I did listen to it because I don't think it was one of those books that I would willingly pick up. Every time I say the title of this book, I think of The Little Mermaid. Like the song, Part of Your World. This was my first Abby Jimenez book, and I absolutely devoured it. I get the hype with Abby Jimenez. I love her. Can we just, her sense of humor is insanely funny to me. Like, I have so many like annotations in these books of me just being like, that's funny. Like, see here, Abby's sense of humor is amazing. Like, it's just so funny. What did it, okay. I'll read you an excerpt, if you will. This was when one of the characters was giving birth. Like, she was in the process of giving birth, and the doctor in the room, they're like, I know it hurts, I said, but just think, now you'll know what it feels like for a man with a cold. That's just so funny to me. And this book also has a baby goat named Chloe, who's usually in PJs. Like, how could you not love that? And the main character, his name is Daniel, and that's my boyfriend's name. So I think I was just biased to this book, but I did indeed give it a 5 stars. I loved it. And I get why people say you have to read this book, or like it's better to read the 2 books before Just for the Summer, because it just wraps up nice. It just like everything's interconnected so nicely. Like, I just love it so much. I actually think the reading vlog for this series is gonna come out after this video. So next week, you guys will see the reading vlog of the series. But I'm just gonna recap it for you for now, because so you know what it's about, and if you haven't read it, pick up the books because they're so good. So Part of Your World is about Alexis and Daniel. Alexis is a nurse at a very prominent hospital, and Daniel is he's a lot of things. He's like the mayor of his town. It's like the smallest little baby town 2 hours away from Alexis. And then he's the mayor, he's a carpenter, he owns a bed and breakfast, like he does it all. But they meet and it kind of becomes like a friends with benefits situation, but then they both start falling for each other, and it's just really good. And that's all I'm gonna say, because I really just think you should go into it not knowing much about it, because it's just so good. But yeah, and so they go into it thinking like it's gonna be friends with benefits, and then they start falling for each other, and then like Alexis gets nervous because she doesn't think like people in her life will accept him, and that will just kill her. And it's like part of your world, like, can you be part of my world? Like, I want to be part of your world. It's just so good, and I love it. And it makes me all gushy, and oh my gosh, you'll see more of my thoughts in the reading vlog. But I'm so happy I picked this up. I really am. Oh my god, it's just so good. I wasn't even gonna read this one either. I was just gonna do Yours Truly and Just for the Summer. Thank God I read this. Oh my gosh, this is just so good. I finished this in like 2 days, I think. So it's just so good. You can't have Part of Your World without Yours Truly, okay? So this was the last book of the month I read. I'm reading Just for the Summer right now. I don't know if I'm gonna finish it by the end of the month. If I do, there will be another clip inserted right after this. But this is about Brianna and Jacob. They both work at the hospital Alexis works at. That's not a spoiler, that's just the interconnectedness of the series. So please read it, oh my gosh. But Brianna's going through a hard time. Like, she's getting divorced, her brother needs a kidney donor, and his condition is not improving. Jacob comes into the hospital, he's a new doctor. A lot of people don't like him, which I don't know why. But they're just like, they're a super tight-knit community, and like they become besties. Jacob finds out he's a match for like a kidney donor for Brianna's brother, so like that's a whole plot in itself. Fake dating trope, oh my gosh. The way that Abby Jimenez wrote about anxiety in this book, so like I don't know what to say. It was just so accurate in the sense of like how my anxiety shows up in my life, like the way that Jacob would overthink and like overplan things, and like how he needed to Google where he was going and like the route and what like his destination would look like and where he would park, like plan it out in his head before he actually went there. Like, she just got anxiety so right, or like my anxiety so right. And did I say that this was 5 stars? Because this was another 5 stars. It was just so good. This whole series, I get the hype, I honestly do, because Abby Jimenez has like a very, very big chokehold on me right now. I want to read all of her books. But I'm really hoping to finish Just for the Summer by the end of August. So let's see if I do. I don't know if I will. But if I do, that clip will be inserted right now. I did read Electra by, oh my gosh, I don't even know who it's by. I can't remember. Let me pop up their name right here. That was also an unexpected read. It was an audiobook, that's why I forgot about it. That one, I think I would give it like a 3 stars. There's just so much going on. It was like three or four people's points of view, which is why I got confused. Love the voice actors, so like I love listening to their voices, especially because they had an accent. Oh my gosh, I don't even think I could begin to tell you what this is about. It was basically centered on the war in Troy and how Paris took Helen away from, I don't even remember where, Sparta maybe? It's just a big Greek mythology story. My favorite part of these videos is always just holding everything up at the end and being like, look how much I read this month. I don't even know if I can like hold this properly. Oh my god, they're gonna fall, they're gonna fall, they're gonna fall. No, they're not. Thank you guys. So, oh my gosh, I'm gonna drop them. Can you tell how excited I am to make this video? I love yapping and like talking about books and things that make me happy, and Thank you guys so much for spending some time with me today. I hope you enjoyed listening to me yap for probably 20 minutes, that's my guess. But I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next week in the next video. Bye guys.